Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
Just gone 5 o'clock on our Friday night. Welcome to the Locker Room on Independence Live, and you'll be sick of seeing me, but you'll also be sick of seeing Graham as well. But don't worry, we'll be on tomorrow night and Sunday night and Monday night as well, so you won't get sick of us then. It's been a busy week in the world of football in Scotland. Bit of a disappointing week, actually. Not if you're a Hearts fan, but Graham is quite. I think he's happy about that. I think so. But never mind. We'll kind of get into that about 5 to 8 tonight. Speak about the Hearts game at the weekend. Joined by a boy band, you would say. The Locker Room. Or probably, I don't know. Joined tonight by Graham, and on bass guitar we've got Robbie Collins. How are you, Robbie?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks.
And the Eminem lookalike is Mikey this evening. All right, Mikey?
Yeah, not too bad.
And Alaska, how are you?
Not too bad. I'm trying to learn how to play the bass guitar, but that's probably not something you want to know.
Yeah, no, I was speaking to you last week. In fact, I think I was speaking to you. What was it last Saturday? And you were saying that you were just back from a lesson as well. But I'm going to beat Grim to this one. You hit the right note there. Sorry, I just had to say it. I feel better now about myself.
Well, you didn't have to say it, but you did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, sorry. But there'll be more jokes between now and 7 o'clock tonight if you can stand the heat in here. You can comment on Facebook and X as well. And Reagan has appeared as well, so it's good to see Reagan tonight as well. And hopefully you're well. As well. So get your comments in on Facebook and X. We're here till 7 o'clock. First of all, guys, before we dive into the Premiership action, some of us will be happy, some of us will be a bit disappointed. Let's look at the Scotland squad that was announced on Tuesday for the games coming up. And maybe most of you will be saying, oh no, back to Scotland again. Yes, it's only Croatia. It's all right, we'll beat them. And that's next week. So I will start with Robbie. Robbie, what did you think of the squad?
I am currently just trying to get the squad up. I have not seen it yet, so just give me a moment to actually see the squad.
Most of it's the same, but there are caps for Liam Lindsay, Andy Irving, who's had about half an hour for West Ham, Nicky Devlin and Ben Doker in it. Most of the rest of the squad's exactly the same as it was.
Nothing surprises me, to be honest. I'll be interested to see how Andy Irving gets on, but I'm just, it's just the same old, really. I mean, as just the Scotland squad, isn't it? Like, we're going into these games now, and I'm running out of confidence and patience with Steve Clarke. I know he should get the time to try and qualify for the World Cup, but it's these type of heartbreak games like the last two we played that just it brings me back to when we were getting beat off of Kazakhstan. Fully unknown that level again, but just right now it feels very flat to be a Scotland fan.
Alaska, what do you think of the squad? There's not many changes in anyone to get really excited about.
I think that's right. I don't think there's anything to get particularly excited about, because I think, given his small C conservative nature, he'll play much the same team anyway. Bear in mind who you're up against. They're not exactly, pure teams. So I don't know. I think he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he goes and actually tries some of the new blood, the fresh blood, and it doesn't work, he's going to get pilloried. If he sticks to the old guard, he's going to get pilloried anyway, no matter what the result is. So I do feel for him. He can't make bricks without straw. He can play with what he's got, but I kind of agree that we could do with just a little bit more daring, because we've not got an awful lot to lose. I don't think nobody's really expecting us to get. Well, how many of you guys are expecting us to win the next 2 games? Let's be honest.
No.
Tough ask. So why not try and see what we can do with maybe one or two of these guys, give some of them a run out, not just the last 5 minutes, but overall, did my heart leap when I saw the squad? No.
Paul Donaldson says, hi all, hope you're well. Had a busy week, and it looks like a very busy show tonight. Yeah, Paul, we're putting together a boy band. You've heard of the program, the X Factor? Well, we are going for the Z Factor.
This is what One Direction should have looked like.
Yeah, the tribute band. Yeah. So, yeah. So, Mike, any surprises for you in the squad?
I think Kevin Nisbet should be in the squad, and I think Shanklin shouldn't. That's the only thing that I'm a bit surprised about. We're playing the same squad because it's the best squad we have. So I can't really say too much about it. The reason why it's so similar is because it's the best players we have to offer. So that's what I'd say about that.
Yeah, there we go. So we'll be covering the Scotland games next week. I'll be behind a couch somewhere watching the game as well. Basically next to Graham somewhere. So we'll be on for the kind of games next week. Let's get back into the bread and butter then. The Premiership action begins on Saturday, but we are going to be looking at the Sunday night game. That's a bit weird, isn't it? And walking back from there. The St Johnson has got a new manager, Sumo Valakari. It's brilliant to see him back in Scottish football. I think it was about 91. Was it Motherwell? Am I right in saying Alaska? Or
he famously played in a game at McDermott where Georgia Boyle scored from about 45 yards, which has been featuring regularly on Saints media. Well, certainly the fan social media, but yeah, he's got a connection with Scotland. He apparently wants to come back. What's not to like?
Yeah. What's yeah. So before we get to the game, Alaska, I was talking to Graham and Andy last night on the show. So we are kickoff time, 8:00 kickoff, obviously, because it's a great Scottish run. It's in Glasgow on Sunday. The game's on Premier Sports. And it's at 8:00 kickoff. First of all, Alaska, have you spoke to any other Saints fans that are a bit annoyed at that time of night? Because I'm thinking about by the time the Perth guys comes down, I mean, you won't be back up till midnight.
No. Short answer is not many people will go to Ibrox anyway, because we don't take a big support to Ibrox or Parkhead, come to that. There's a whole variety of reasons for that, some of which you can guess, but some of which are to do with the fact we usually get beat. I was talking to a friend, we're trying to remember the last time we won there and how many times we've actually seen Saints win there. And there's not that many. I think I've said in the show before, our overall record against the Old Firm is about 15% success rate. So, yeah, that doesn't make it easy. But you're right, the time is ridiculous. Fans come first. Don't think so. I don't know anybody who actually is living in Glasgow who's on the chat who wants to tell us precisely where the Scottish run is going to actually impinge on fans getting Ibrox. As far as I can see, it'll be the same routes that people normally take, and I'm assuming that the runners aren't going along the M8. So I'm not quite sure whether it's just out the police and health and safety or what, but it's ridiculous. It's fans shouldn't be asked to go and do this kind of thing. We're the people who actually keep the game going. We're the people who pay for most of the game in Scotland, and we should not be pushed to these kind of times.
I mean, my kind of biggest concern about this, Robbie, is the Great Scottish Run. I think it finishes about the back of 2 or 3 o'clock. They could get either to make that game 5:30 on the Sunday night on the TV. God knows why it's at 8:00 kickoff. I know TV calls the shots nowadays as well, and I suppose the police might have a say in this as well because it's a big event in kind of Glasgow. Just to clarify, people won't be running on the motorway, so you'll be fine just to drive on the motorway on Sunday, just in case Alaska told me not to go out on the motorway. No, you're fine. It's just on the slip to the motorway on Sunday. The roads will be shut. Robbie, what do you think of the time for the game? It's a bit daft.
Aye, I mean, not to repeat what you guys have said, but it is a bit of a ridiculous time. I mean, look, it's always been, you always get your Saturday 3 o'clocks, maybe your Sunday 12 o'clocks. But, if you're getting these late kickoffs, it's usually during the week. So to see a game on a Sunday it's quite weird to look at. And to be honest, I think it is a bit ridiculous for, as Alistair said, the fans. Fans are the heart and soul of the club. They pay the money, they try to get to the games. But when you're making kick-off times like this, it's never going to be easy. So I can understand the frustration.
Yeah, well, Paul Donaldson makes a good comment on the chat. You gave me Paul, thanks for watching on YouTube. He says, I think it's a bit strange to people struggling to get a train to Perth at that time. Yep, because 8 o'clock kick-off by the time we get back to Queen's Street and all that. And I think the Glasgow Underground doesn't run on a Sunday night. Yet again, Graham, this is one where Alaska's Supporters Association has been going on for years and years and years. They're not listening to the customers.
No, when have they ever listened to the customers? I mean, it is a daft time, but I mean, to be honest, surely all you've got to do is pick some of those runners out, stick them in Ibrox, and make it look as if Johnson have got some fans there. That's all you got to do.
Oh.
But anyway, sorry, that's controversial, I know. But yeah, it is a daft kickoff time, and it's going to be a really horrible time of night for St Johnstone fans to get home. But I mean, hope for the ones that do make it can get back in time. I don't know if anyone saw this a couple of days ago. I think it was Bournemouth Southampton, and the Bournemouth tannoy announcer put over the stadium that there was no change back to Southampton, which was hilarious. I hope that doesn't happen this time.
I think one of the things that's worthwhile saying is it's not just Saints fans. Rangers have got fans all over the country as well. I mean, when I lived in the islands, the local papers were full of adverts. Unsurprisingly, people want to go to Celtic Park in Ibrox as opposed to Inverness Cali. So it's not just Saints fans that are going to be affected by this.
Okay, let's talk about the game then before we run off. Sorry, I had to make another joke there. Graham, sorry. I'm in pantomime this year, by the way. I don't know if I've told you that. And Graham's like that. You said that last year. You can't get away with that again. But you're right, Graham. How did you know? What's my name? Don't answer that, man. So let's talk about the game then before we get on to the Rangers performance last night, or maybe people says what performance last night. Let's go over to Alaska and Simo Valakari, as I said, at the top there is back in the Saints dugout for, they won't be in the dugout for Sunday night. It'll be up in the director's box. Maybe he's in the marathon, I don't know. So what do you think of him being the new manager at St Johnstone, and do you think anything will kind of change the system?
Well, we'll wait and see. I mean, he's been here for a week. I mean, to go forward, last Saturday, everybody at McDermott was talking about the boy Lynch from Larne coming. And that was almost a done deal as far as we were concerned. I think Alan Preston said on the radio it's a done deal. Having made contact with some former St Johnstone managers who might know something about Northern Ireland, I think we've won a watch with him, because everyone talks about how Larne were really successful and won the last 2 championships, but what they don't realise, which I didn't realise, is that they did it because they had humongous amounts of money thrown at them. The other thing is that he wanted a humongous amount of money to come to the manager. I know how much it was way over what Saints were willing to pay. So there was no way it was going to happen. Similarly, I'm pretty sure, though I don't know this because I haven't got to check it with, Scott Brown. It's interesting. The press, of course, reported he turned it down. Well, he was never offered it, so it's kind of hard to turn it down. My gut feel is that he was asked by Adam Webb if he was in it for the long term, and I doubt he would have been. So I think that's probably winning a watch as well, because I don't think that gone down well with Saints fans. The general feeling is that this guy is the best we could have got from the guys who were on the shortlist. His utterances in public, his stuff with the comms team at the ground, the contrast between him and Levine is chalk and cheese. Levine would come out and he was dour and monosyllabic, and he quite frankly didn't seem to care for the club. Now, you're right, Michael, what you said earlier on, it doesn't matter what you say, it's what you do. But he's certainly saying the right things, and he's saying them in such a way that the fans are much more enthused, because the vast majority of fans were just scunnered with Levine. And it comes back again to the fact he should have gone in the summer. For political reasons to do with the sale of the club, that didn't happen. So we're now in a position by which we've got Rangers at Ibrox. What could possibly go wrong there? You've just come off a huge tanking, unlike St Johnstone, who came off an even bigger tanking. So it's almost a free pass for him. What matters is the next game after that, which is the Ross County game. That's the one that makes it. That's the one that he's got to win that, to be blunt.
Yeah, so no, I was just going to say that he done this press conference yesterday. All the usual things, Alistair, like a new manager comes in. Very excited to be here. I know what football means to the fans, and I love Scottish football. I see what I want to see the way that the club wants to go in. I won't be in the dugout for Sunday night, and also he spoke about Motherwell, that I enjoyed my time here the first time. Motherwell's a great club. Now, looking at the panel tonight, guys, I can only come to Mr. Duffy in this point, because I don't think Robbie and Mikey, well, especially Mikey, was about when Valakari was here in the first game. I can just remember, but I'm not as old as Graham. So, Graham, what about Valakari? What do you think he'll bring to Scottish football?
I mean, I do remember him as quite a combative player, a decent footballer. I think he'll bring a lot of steel and grit to St Johnstone, which I think they definitely need. And hopefully he can play a decent style of football, which we all know that Craig Levein just never did. But it'll be interesting to see what he does. I've said it previously before that the St Johnstone squad just doesn't have a lot of quality in it. Now, you're looking at maybe trying to build the squad around somebody. That's probably Graham Carey, because he is St Johnston's best player. But he needs to bring something to them. Now, what he does with that squad, I don't know, because it's not a great squad. I think the one thing I would say about St Johnstone, I said before, the one thing they do have is Sidibe and Kempioka are very, very good for me. They are two very, very good strikers with pace. They've got to try and play on that, and I think he will use that. Now, obviously, tomorrow it's a completely different game against Rangers. The problem with getting him out of that game. But if they can get those two, when they come back, firing, then they've got a decent chance here with those two up front, and obviously Graham Carey as well. But I don't know what he's going to do in January in the transfer window, who he can bring in. It's going to be interesting. But I'm interested to see what he does, because he was good at Motherwell as a player. As a manager, I don't know much about him, but it's an interesting choice. It's probably a choice that maybe I think Scott Brown probably would have been one of the favourites. I maybe thought Ian Murray, maybe Rhys McCabe might have got it. But they've given it to Valakari, who will have, I think, I'm trying to remember. I was young, but I do remember him. And I think he will bring a steal. I think he will bring a steal to St Johnstone. I think they sadly lack.
Was he not in the squad that they won the Scottish Cup in '91 against Dundee United?
That's what I was trying to remember. I think he was. That's what I was trying to remember. I think he was.
Yeah. To answer your question about his managerial ability, if you actually look at his track record, it is pretty good. He's taken clubs in a similar position to Saints just now and kept them up. He's also won stuff. He's won leagues. He's won cups. So his track record is good. That said, the stats currently don't lie. We are really at the bottom of the table because we deserve to be at the bottom of the table. It's as simple as that. So, Graham, you're absolutely right. The other problem we've got is, I'm sure some of you, probably most of you are aware, Graham Carey's got very, very difficult personal circumstances just now, which cannot help. The guy's got far more important things on his mind than playing for St Johnstone, I'm sure, So that's a real issue. Kempioka and Sidibe, I think, are back. Now I think they've done their suspension, so we didn't get me sent off last week for the first time for ages, so that was a plus. So things are only going to get better. Let's put it like that.
So these are the games over the weekend, Glenn. We'll go back to the Rangers St Johnstone game in a minute. Midday up at Dingwall, Ross Kent against Celtic. On Saturday, Paul Donaldson's team's at home, Aberdeen, so against the Hearts. That's on Sunday. This has been a busy week, right? On Saturday, Dundee is at home to Dundee United at 3 o'clock. Hibs, Motherwell, and Millen Dundee United. These are the games of the weekend then. Okay, let's go back to talking about the game. Robbie, what are you expecting of both teams? Because both teams has had a very difficult week. St Johnstone last week up at McDermott Park at home against Celtic, and Rangers, well, don't have to tell you, last night's performance in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, look, for Rangers, the performance in Europe wasn't good enough. They missed their chances, and I think if you're looking to try and get positives for St Johnstone for the game, is Rangers miss a lot of chances. That is one thing they seem to have done the last 2 games. I actually thought Hibs probably could have got something at that game at Ibrox, but it's not been good enough for Rangers, and I think the players in Clermont will know that. And I think one of the big calls from Rangers fans specifically is you need to drop James Tavernier because he's just not been good enough the last few weeks. So it'll be interesting to see if Clermont makes that decision. It is a big one, of course. He's a club captain, he has been for years. So to drop him, it'll be a big decision. But you've got to feel for Clermont that he needs to win this game. Of course, he does. He needs to win every game. But if you're St Johnstone, I mean, look, it's always going to be difficult. You almost want to write these type of games off. But if you're St Johnstone, you've got to look at the chances that Rangers have missed over the last couple of weeks. Take the Chernley one, for example. I think he's got to score that. If you're St Johnstone, you've got to look at the type of chances and go, if they miss a few and we can try and get ourselves a chance, you'll always get a chance. But again, it's going to be so difficult, especially when Rangers are off the back of that European defeat and they want to come back into the league so well. So it's going to be a tough game for St Johnstone, but they just need to hope that Rangers keep missing some of the big chances.
Mikey, what about you?
I think that the game last night from Rangers' perspective was pretty terrible. They obviously missed a massive chance for Cherney and they were battered basically. The front three with Leon was absolutely exceptional. And I do believe that James Tavernier probably does need to be dropped for this game, just because of the really poor performances that have been seen against all the big clubs that Rangers have played over the last couple of seasons. There needs to be that natural evolution, and they have that in Dujon Sterling. They just don't use him. But for this game, it takes something absolutely unbelievable for St Johnstone to win because they look so far behind basically all the teams in the league at the moment. Them and Ross County are the teams that I think will be right down there. I said that at the start of the season, but yeah, I think it'll be a very, very tough game for St Johnstone. We all know that. But yeah, I mean, Rangers, they're going to be hungry coming back from what was obviously a really poor performance, and they're kind of fighting against a wounded animal in St Johnstone. So it could be quite nasty for them.
I heard Philip Clermont say after the game yesterday that he thought 4-1 was quite harsh. I don't know what game he was watching. Now, yes, Rangers did have chances, but Leon generally could have scored 6 or 7 yesterday. To say it was a harsh scoreline is nonsense.
It's just the same nonsense that comes out of his mouth every week that they lose. And I know that's harsh, but it's every time that they lose a game, they're unlucky or something went against them or they had more possession or whatever. It's always excuses when they lose, which is the thing that I'm not a big fan of Clermont.
I did have to laugh about the point about Cherney's miss. There was on Twitter a Rangers fan, I don't know who it was. He was absolutely lambasting him for having only 1 foot, a left foot. If he had, if he was able to kick the ball with his other foot, he would have scored. And it was absolutely shocking that he was just a one left-footed player. And I was tempted to reply, "What about Davy Cooper?" But I thought that might cause a bit of grief.
I did actually see that comment as well. I was actually laughing at that as well. I mean, Alistair, see, just looking at that game tomorrow, obviously that defeat last week's a massive, massive blow for St Johnstone. You're now going to a Rangers team that's kind of wounded. I mean, how do you think, I assume that Valakari will set up quite defensively tomorrow and try and hit the counter-attack if they can? I
mean, before the Celtic game, we were sitting in the Mutant Suite talking about what the score would be, and the general consensus would be lucky to get away with 5. So we were nearly right. But it was the absolute nadir. So far this season, it was just shocking. And I suspect if I wasn't on the show, you'd be able to be a lot more critical of St Johnstone, quite rightly so, because just now we are rubbish. Our defence is poor, it's not organised, we can't defend set plays, our goalkeepers are too young. But you're right, we've got two strikers who actually can score goals, and we've got in Graham Carey, a very, very skillful midfield player. The chances of us getting anything for the game tomorrow are very, very small. I don't know what the bookies' odds are, but they tend to be right most of the time. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a staging post. Is the performance better? Is the defence more organised? Are we actually looking like we're using Sidibe back in the team, looking to get Benji back on the ball and use his pace? And if we see that, we can take that in the Ross County game, because Mikey's right. Ross County and us are the two teams who are going to be struggling at the bottom of this league. Maybe not struggling, because I don't think anyone's going to get cut adrift. I hope not. But we're the two teams most likely to go down. With that, based on the first few games, that's quite clear. And it's what most people have said at the start of the season.
I was looking back. I checked a couple of the records earlier. I was looking back at all your games this season, including the Premier Sports Cup. You've conceded 24 goals. Now, that's not exactly a great stat when you're obviously under pressure. I mean, surely the first thing Vallecari's got to do, I think you kind of mentioned it there, is make you more stable defensively so you stop conceding goals.
Yeah. Again, I'm sorry, Levine entirely to blame for this. He's brought in players, who are greatest respect. They're not getting games at their own clubs. And the boy from Hearts is a good player. I think in a good team, he'd be a better player. I don't think anybody thought Levine set the team up properly. He brought in a 23-year-old goalkeeper, other goalkeeper's 23-year-old, and quite frankly, they're not being proven up to it. They're not bad, but they're not great. So, yeah, the defence is just simply not good enough. And if you go back when Vallecari was playing back in the day, he talked about playing against St Johnstone, always very hard to play against. He was playing against Sturrock's team and Sandy Clark's team latterly, and they had some really, really good defenders back in the day. Not in the same league now. The only thing I will say, just apropos of nothing, is there's been the club have been trying to push the fans for a decision on what the walk-on music should be, because it's been the Skids, the Saints are coming for years, and so I think this is the American influence. They wanted something more upbeat. They wanted AC/DC or something. It's surely got to be Wagner's The Ride of the Valachar-Grace.
Well, I'm more concerned that Hearts will end up with status quo down very shortly if this continues.
Very, very good. Yeah, so it will get better, by the way. It will get better. Yeah, so Alaska, will you be... Obviously, Vallecari's been working with the boys for about a few days, but obviously you can't go into the dressing room on Sunday. Do you think anything will change that much in a short space of time?
Sorry, at the risk of making this a very short show, no. I don't think it will. I think, as I said, what you're hoping for is you're hoping that you will see some signs of improvement. Rangers obviously got to do another night, so they will be, quotes, a wounded animal. Strangely, nobody thinks we're a wounded animal because we got a doing last Saturday, but I know where they're coming from. They might be a bit more tired, shouldn't be the professional players. Several of you guys have talked about the fact that Rangers miss chances. Well, that's not a problem because we're going to give them a lot of chances based on what I've seen over the last couple of weeks. That won't be an issue for them. They'll have plenty of opportunities to practice scoring or missing. What really matters, it's the same as St Mirren, Hibs, Hearts. If you go to Ibrox, you get one or two chances. You've got to take two of them really to win, and then just hope to get a bit of luck. Even if we take two, can I see our defence stopping Rangers scoring three? Not unless, as Mikey said, there's a phenomenal piece of luck. So I'm not well, I'll be very pleasantly surprised, but I think the chances of us doing anything different, to answer your question, are remote in terms of the actual result. In terms of how we play, that's what I'm hoping to see, something different in the way we play. That's what will matter. But the same for Graham at Hearts when the new manager comes and you'll be looking to see, has he brought about changes, even if the results don't improve straight away,
Mikey and Robbie, what reaction do you think there will be from Rangers? Because 50,000 behind you, there was boos at the end of last night's game, too rightly so, because fans were playing top dollar go along to Ibrox and basically Leon put on a brilliant performance. But what kind of reaction do you think that Clement side will put on Sunday night?
Well, I mean, I think that very much they played a team better than them. Last night. I mean, Leon, in my opinion, well, I think it's pretty obvious that if you go man for man in their 11, they are a better side than Rangers. I just think the way that Rangers actually performed was not good enough. And usually you don't see a massive reaction when you come off of a defeat in Europe and you play a team sort of right down the bottom of the league. You usually win by maybe 2 or 3. But I genuinely think if Rangers win 2-0, then it'll be quite a poor performance, because if you look at the state of that St Johnstone defence and the team in general at the moment, it'd be very, very. There's a high chance that Rangers could score a lot of goals. So if they end up not scoring as many as they want, then it could still be seen as a disappointing performance. However, you do have to say, for example, if it's 15-20 minutes in and it's still 0-0, do the Rangers fans start getting on the team's back? It's quite likely that they will. So, I mean, that's one incentive that St Johnstone have, and it's that the fans are a bit downbeat. So if they can get 20 minutes, 40 minutes into the game, then the fans will no doubt start getting very frustrated. And that's what happens every time you end up playing Celtic or Rangers or whatever after they lose in Europe.
Robbie, what about you?
So I was going to say very briefly, the only problem with that argument is that I think we held out for about 30 minutes against Celtic and then it came. So I know what you mean, Mikey, but it's the longer you can get to half time and then not lose a goal straight away, and then the doubts start coming in, particularly at Ibrox. I think you're right. Sorry, just
Robbie. We were in fact we said this on the show last night for the Rangers game, getting ready to go in before the Leon game. About does maybe like St Johnstone have to take the game in stages on Sunday in terms of like the first 10-15 minutes, 20 minutes, get to half time, hopefully 0-0, and then keep it tight the first 10 minutes of the second half. I know the game's not on plague and paper, Alistair. I don't want to get your hopes too high, but you know, Robbie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, anybody will know when you're going to Parkhead or Ibrox that the game will be played in sort of stages for the team. I mean, it's the same as whenever the teams come to our grounds. I mean, you need to go out, you need to be so solid defensively for the first sort of 25-30 minutes, even try and make it half time without losing a goal. Then you go out the second half, and you know, when the fans start getting on the team's back, that's when problems arise for them. And I think one thing I took for the games is, you know, Rangers do make quite a few mistakes. You look at Barron, for how well he's been plausited so far this season, for how well he's sort of settled in. That was a really big mistake last night that sort of cost Rangers the game, you'd say. So I think at St Johnstone, like I don't want to say, you know, if Rangers make a few chances, St Johnstone will capitalise. Of course, we don't know, but if you're St Johnstone, you need to look at the game. And I think against Hibs, I don't know how different it will be, but Rangers seem to give up a lot of the ball some of the time. So I think if you're St Johnstone, you just need to try and hope that you don't concede early on, because as soon as Rangers score, that'll be them. The game will open up, and that's when you'll start seeing a lot of chances. So it'll be big for St Johnstone to take the game in parts, but you just need to try and look at the positives and try and maybe capitalise on a couple of Rangers' mistakes.
That's a good point, Alistair, that Robbie Snigler, and I'm going to echo what I said last night to Andy as well. I think the only hope that Johnson would have on Sunday is maybe set pieces, free kicks and corner kicks, but also as well, like over the years, going back to maybe Van Bronckhorst's time, and Graham knows what I'm going to say here, because I say every week when we're talking about Rangers. Rangers has not really put a 90-minute performance together for a wee while. I mean, look at the Hibs game last week. I mean, okay, they won 1-0. They were lucky to win that game, but it was very patchy, that performance. They didn't play well for the whole 90 minutes, and I think that you've got to hold out for a bit of hope.
Who's that to?
Alistair.
Sorry. Well, yeah, there's always hope until the whistle starts. But I think that, there is no doubt that Rangers will one of these days put together, a 90-minute performance. But that doesn't happen for any team more than a few times during a season. There's always patches in any game when the opposition have a chance, and it's how you actually deal with that. I'm not so sure about set pieces being the way we're going to score, because we haven't really we've looked like we're going to concede off set pieces. That's been not a problem at all. But in terms of scoring off them, hasn't really happened. You really just have to, you've got to ride your luck. You've got, as everybody said, you've got to try and get through the game, get the crowd getting twitchy, getting nervy. Because if they score early, as somebody said, I think Mikey might have said earlier on it, or Robbie, you know what's coming. If you don't get the next goal back, then you're in big trouble. Now, yes, it's possible to come back, but I think the Rangers fans, they'll be looking at this going, this is a team that shipped 6 goals against Celtic. We should be trying to do exactly the same. If I was a Rangers fan, that's what I'd be expecting. And I would think these are the guys who are the whipping boys of the table. We're going to go and give them a real whipping. And I'll be really angry if we don't. Hence, if there is any hope at all, it's some or other preventing that happening. Any idea how to do that? Answers on a postcard. I'm sure the new manager will be very happy to hear from you.
Can I just quickly comment on something? I disagree with your point, Michael, about Rangers not putting in a 90-minute performance, because they did literally last a couple of weeks ago against Malmo, because I think that was a brilliant performance by them. And they obviously,
one game.
I think it was a 90-minute performance against Ross County as well. So they have done it. It's just, it's not quite as set in stone as it was at the sort of middle stage of last season, because they were very much on a roll. But I think there's been multiple games this season where they've played well across the entire game.
Graham, what do you think?
Of the game on Sunday?
Yeah.
I mean, you would imagine that Rangers probably would win, but they are coming off the back of a really disappointing result yesterday. And the last 2 games have not been great. I thought they were quite poor against Hibs. We said that last week. Hibs should have got something out of the game. And yesterday it was a step apart. You know, Leon were fantastic yesterday. We said it on the show last night. Sunday's a game that they should win. But you're up against an unknown St Johnstone now, because you don't know what the manager's going to do, how they're going to set up, how they're going to react. It could be a very difficult game for Rangers. And it could be a case that if St Johnstone can sit in, keep it tight early on, that Rangers crowd will definitely get frustrated. And especially given the fact that Celtic will probably win tomorrow, or Sunday, sorry. So Rangers will then know they've got another massive 3 points to pick up. St Johnstone are capable of making this difficult. You know, and like Alistair said, they're a wounded animal as well. I don't think this will be an easy game for Rangers, but it's a game that they should be winning. And I think I said the same thing about, I think last week as well. For St Johnstone to go to Ibrox, if you get chances, you've got to take them, because you cannot afford to not take your chances at Ibrox. So it's important that if St Johnstone do get chances, that they are clinical. And if they can just keep the back door shut and try and get to maybe in 20 minutes, half an hour at 0-0, the Ibrox crowd will turn. They definitely will turn, because it's not been a great season so far for Rangers. You know, Mikey's right. They have had a few decent performances and results, but it's not been a great season so far. So Rangers will be expecting, but I think it'll be more difficult than folk think it will be.
Before we move on, I was looking up the Glasgow Scottish run there, not because I'm going to enter this year, because I've won it too many times. I want to give some girls a chance. The race is on till 4:30, so I think maybe that's why the game's maybe, well, they could make it 7 o'clock, but I don't know why, because it said here a number of roads will be shut in Glasgow in and about the city centre on Sunday between 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when I'm just getting out my bed at that time. Till 4:30 on Sunday. So there you go. A bit of information there, just to clarify a bit. They could get easily make the game at 7 o'clock. But Graham, get onto your phone, phone Rory Hamilton and say, can you change the time of the game as well? But yeah. So that's the Rangers St Johnstone game on Sunday, live on Plymouth Sport at 8 o'clock. Right, another game that Alistair does not want to talk about. That's why we've got you on here tonight. And stuff. The second game of the day is Ross County against Celtic, 12 o'clock kickoff. Again, it's on Sky. It's on TV. Brilliant performance last week from Celtic's point of view, from Scottish football and all the rest of it, because the TV cameras were there. But how did you think it went last week, Alistair? Because you basically saw Celtic last week, so how
Well,
did you see it?
in all the years I've watched St Johnstone, I've only twice left the game early. Once was last century against Dunfermline, and I made the mistake of going with a couple of minutes to go and then we'd scored. So I vowed I'd never ever leave a game early. I left the game early on Saturday. It was Celtic were brilliant. Celtic were really, really good. Okay, they weren't up against an awful lot once they got in front, but they were extremely good, and they would have destroyed any team. Now, I'm not just saying that they'd have beaten any team, maybe not 6-0, but they'd have beaten them by a couple of goals comfortably, playing like that. So, I think I've seen Saints get beaten by that kind of score at Parkhead, possibly at Ibrox, maybe 5-0 at Ibrox. I've seen us lose 7-0 to Rangers when Paul Kane got sent off, and then the next week we beat Celtic. So, mind you, we had a much better team in those days. That was Sturrock's team. So, I don't think there's any danger Celtic will not beat Ross County. The only question is by what margin. And Celtic are even more a wounded animal because that's 3-7, goals scored against them under Brendan Rodgers in Europe. And they've absolutely got to demonstrate to their fans that was a blip and that they're still the Kings of Scotland, which currently they are. So I would be staggered if Saints get anything from Ibrox, but I would be doubly staggered if Celtic don't win this game. The only question is the margin of goals.
Mikey, Robbie, you saw the game last week. It was a brilliant performance, but from Celtic, but the whole saying in football is you've got to beat who's in front of you. It doesn't matter if it's Johnson, Borussia Dortmund. Well, maybe that's a bad word, and Celtic fans a real bad example. But you know what I mean. You've just got to play who's in front of you. Mikey.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a bit more of a negative mindset towards the whole situation. I think that game on Tuesday was very much a stark reminder of where Scottish football is at the moment, which is quite sad. But I think Celtic will be back to winning ways because Ross County have not been bad in sort of spells of this season. They've been simply woeful in other spells. But I just think the way that Celtic have set up in the league was very similar to the way they set up in Europe, and that was very, very naive in my opinion. Because I don't think that any team in Scotland could go and try and match Borussia Dortmund sort of toe to toe in the way that Celtic tried to, and that's obviously showed a very sort of very visual reminder of where Celtic probably are and where Scottish football is as a whole. But yeah, I don't think that there will be any real issues for Celtic unless there's a real massive amount of pressure on the team, because even I think that Celtic, their second 11 could go out and probably pretty handily deal with Ross County.
Robbie, do you give County any hope, or do you think they will be feeling Celtic coming up on Sunday?
I think I agree with Mikey, to be honest. This is probably going to be a pretty straightforward win for Celtic. Obviously, the Dortmund game was a huge disappointment. But look, people I think forget that Dortmund were in the Champions League final a few months ago. And, Scottish football will probably never be on that level, unfortunately. But for this game, I think you said it, Michael, you just need to take it a game at a time. And Celtic, they're taking on the Ross County team that, I think it'll be made hard for them. I don't think it'll be an easy game, but I expect Celtic to get the job done. So I think this will be comfortable for Celtic in the end.
Graham, me and you done the show on Tuesday night, and we spoke about the disappointment, the basics of football. Not to offend schoolboy football, but that was schoolboy errors that Celtic done on the night. I'm not saying Celtic would go beat 7-1, but I mean, if they'd done the basics right, I don't think I would have been the highest goal scorer on the game. But do you think they'll bounce back on Sunday, as I said to Robbie?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to pity anyone that's coming up against a Celtic team that's just lost 7 goals. You know, Ross County are going to be in for a really, really difficult afternoon, I think. Celtic will be desperate to make up for that. You know, they do have a big squad. They can make 5 or 6 changes and still be too strong for Ross County. So, yeah, I don't give Ross County any chance here. Celtic were looking to try and bounce back from that defeat, and I think they'll do it quite comfortably. I mean, I think, again, I mentioned this on Tuesday. The thing I think, and I said this on Tuesday during the show because somebody mentioned it in the chat, I think the thing about Scottish football, and I think a lot of things that fans of other clubs don't like is the fact that you get Celtic Rangers fans talking about the gap between Celtic and Borussia Dortmund and Rangers against Lyon and stuff. And these fans of these clubs come out and say, oh, do you know, the gap's too big, we've not got the financial power. That's fine. I know you don't. But then it's the same thing for us in Scottish football. You know, and again, I said this on Tuesday, it's not Celtic's fault, it's not Rangers' fault. It's just the way it is. But you then can't complain about the gap between everyone else, between Celtic and Rangers and everyone else in Scottish football. It's the same for us. You know, we are, teams like Ross County don't have the financial muscle to beat Celtic. Now, maybe once they might do it, it might happen, but it's very difficult to compete in Scottish football with Celtic and Rangers. I've said this to a few folk as well, because I heard a few folk on different radio stations saying, oh, you know, Scottish football's terrible. And I know why they say it, and I get it, but the financial gap between Celtic, Rangers and everyone else is massive. Now, the only team right now that's actually showing something is Aberdeen, and fair play to them. But at some point, they will drop off, and Celtic will eventually win the league by quite a large margin. But when you see fans of Celtic and Rangers on Twitter saying, oh, we can't compete in Europe and stuff, how do you think fans of Scottish football feel? It's exactly the same for us.
Can I just quickly come in on something as well? I think the thing that really highlights it is Celtic, if they're losing 1-0 to Ross County and it comes to whatever the 60th minute, 65th, whatever, they can bring on 3 subs that are worth more than the entire Ross County squad for the last decade combined. And that just basically, I mean, that highlights it quite enough where it shows the financial gulf. And it does get a bit infuriating from a fan of not a Celtic or Rangers when you see Celtic and Rangers fans complaining about we're not able to compete when every single week they have the sort of upper hand over everyone else. And it's not entitlement, but it's just a bit frustrating to see.
Did anybody see the tweet from Kevin Maguire in the week? You know, the guy who does the Price of Football podcast. A guy called Kevin Heller had asked him, he's a Saints fan, about the gap between what the size of the gap was. In terms of turnover, Celtic is 25 times the size of St Johnstone. In terms of turnover, Dortmund are just under 4 times the size of Celtic. In terms of value of players, Celtic are 180 times the value of St Johnstone's squad. And therein lies the problem, which is not, as you say, it's nobody's fault, it's the way the game is, but it's not going to improve things. And I cannot see Scottish football in the short term improving because of the situation it's in.
I had somebody ask me a couple of days ago, you know, how does Scottish football get better? Simple fact is there's not enough money for every other club. And again, I keep going back to the point, it's not Celtic's fault, it's not Rangers' fault, it's just the way it is. But unless every single club gets a massive financial boost, a millionaire, a billionaire comes into these clubs, it will never change. I am used to seeing Celtic and Rangers dominate the league and win it every season. I don't think that will ever change. The Hearts have come close a couple of times to challenge for the title. 86 was the prime example. We should have won it, but we didn't. But it'll never, ever happen. You know, Celtic will just get, I said that before the season started, Celtic will just get stronger and stronger with the Champions League money they've got. They've already signed a guy like Engels for a lot of money. It will never, ever change unless there's a massive financial boost in Scottish football, and that just will not happen.
And do you know what the thing is as well? Just my final point on this. If the league becomes more competitive, the Scottish clubs become less competitive in Europe, because if the gap gets smaller between the old firm and the likes of Hearts and Aberdeen, then Celtic and Rangers have got worse, because the likes of Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen are never going to be able to compete on the financial level of some of the teams in Europe. So the only hope we have of being good in Europe is if the gap widens in Scottish football between Celtic, Rangers and the rest of the sort of league, because if, for example, Celtic's way ahead of us, then they're naturally going to be closer to the likes of Borussia Dortmund and everything. So we either kind of need to try and hope for a more competitive league, or for Scottish football to be more competitive in Europe, because the sort of landscape it was in when teams in Scotland were doing well in Europe, it was much less financial based, and it was very much the standard of player at the time was kind of spread out more. Because nowadays, if a player at, for example, Hibs or Hearts or Dundee or Kelly becomes way too good, they end up getting snapped up by Celtic and Rangers, and that's just unfortunately how it is.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to go into this because hopefully in a few weeks' time we're going to do a show on youth football. But I get what everybody's saying here, right? But do you not think it comes down to grassroots football in terms of youth football, like who's coming through the system? And like you know, like I can name about maybe about 5 or 6 Celtic players has made the, you know, Kieran Tierney for an example, James Forrest, Callum McGregor, you know, players at that caliber. Now, I'm not saying that players will come through the system and they're going to win the league for Hearts and St Johnstone and whatever. I'm not saying that because the gap will be still wider, but I mean, surely you've got somebody at the club coming through the ranks and say, yeah, he should be in the first team.
I'd say no, because I'll just quickly say I'd say no because the second, for example, if a player, well, bring Hearts into it, for example, the second a young player at Hearts starts developing, a team down south will bring him in, or a team like Celtic or Rangers will bring him in, and then that just goes back to the main issue. I think the issue is much more deep-rooted than just going, oh, develop these players and then you'll be more competitive, because that's unfortunately not how it works. Like, for example, St Johnstone have a good few young players coming through, for example, Franchak, and as soon as he becomes good enough, he'll be off to a team down south or Celtic or Rangers. There needs to be a much more stable development of the team, and we've seen it. An example down south I've noticed is the likes of Arsenal, who have slowly developed into a really good side over the last few years. That isn't just through bringing in these players and then winning the leagues. There's other steps that need to go into it, because if a team like, for example, St Johnstone has a really good player coming through, they're not going to be wanting to stick around in a relegation battle for season after season, because that is realistically what will happen, because the rest of the squad isn't good enough.
Just to take on Mikey's point there, I mean, I was reading an article last week that we had a couple under 15 players that have started coming through, and already Arsenal have already been reported that they are looking to try and sign these players. And I think a lot of fans have been very vocal that, you know, what chance have we sort of got to bring these guys through when they're not even 16 yet? We can't even give them a contract and they're already getting scouted by these clubs. So it's always quite difficult to bring these type of players through.
Going back to the game on Sunday, because I don't want to get bogged down in this. We will be doing a show on that in a few weeks' time, because we can spend an hour or even an hour and a half talking about youth development football, and I know Alistair's quite passionate about that as well. So we are all in the show, so watch out for that coming up in the next few weeks. Graham, as I said to Alistair early on as well, that, you know, yeah, everybody's rating Celtic cooked to win on Sunday about 4 or 5, but you've got to give respect to Ross Kentney, but at the same time, you can only beat who's in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, Ross Kentney came to Tynecastle last week. They were okay. You know, they defended very well. A great goal from Ronan Hale, who I think has been a really good signer. I think 6 goals this season for him. So he will be a threat. But you're just looking at that Celtic team and what we just spoke about. They've got so much quality. They can afford to rest a few players. You know, they had like Hatate on the bench last week. They can afford to bring him on. They've got a lot of quality. And I just don't think you can see anything for Ross County. I think, again, a bit like St Johnstone, if they can keep it tight early on, try and frustrate Celtic. But the squad that Celtic have got, I just don't see any way that they don't win that game. And like I said, they're off the back of a hammering by Dortmund. They want to make up for that. They want to make up for it for the fans that are there and watching on TV. Yes, they have to treat Ross County with respect. Of course they do. But I just don't see anything but a comfortable Celtic victory. And I'd be really surprised if they don't get it.
Robbie, how big a miss will Cat Vickers be on Sunday, because he's out of the squad? He's still injured.
Of course, it'll be a big miss. Look, Carter Vickers is a really, really good defender, but Celtic have the quality that they can bring in another defender into the squad, and he'll probably be just as comfortable. But I mean, I think one of the main talking points for Celtic as well will probably be Rio Hatari, because he found himself sort of falling away for the team a bit, but he's still a very, very quality player. So it'll be interesting to see the team selection on Sunday. But it'll be a big miss not having Carter Vickers.
Brendan Rodgers is the manager of the month, and hopefully got it before Tuesday night. So he was speaking to the media today. He said, we're looking to bounce back after a very disappointing night on Tuesday. And then he goes on to speak about Ross County. He says, we saw them playing for a few weeks, and it's always Mikey's favourite phrase of the season, a very tough game up there. So that was Brendan Rodgers. As for Ross County, Mikey, what do you make of the season so far?
Well, as I said a little bit ago, it's been very much sort of up and down. I think that they've got some very, very good players in there. I'm surprised that Victor Latour is still there, because I've noticed over the last sort of year, he's really sort of become comfortable within Scottish football, and he's a really talented player. They've got a very strong defence, and Ronan Hale has been brilliant since coming in. So they've got a decently squad there, but they, as I said a few minutes ago, Celtic have the sort of, as I said, the financial muscle that they can bring on players with however much value compared to the Ross County team, and it's obviously, it's never going to be a completely level playing field, but it's going to be very, very, very difficult for them to even try and hold on for any amount of time within the game.
Can I just say, by the way, this is going to be controversial, but that's what I do on this show. See these Manager and Player of the Month awards. What an absolute waste of time they are. Why do we have to have these? You could literally win 2 games and draw 2 games and get Manager of the Month. A player can score a couple of goals in a week and get Player of the Month. Honestly, what a waste of time these awards are.
And let's go to Alistair on this one, because I feel Alistair will go off in a bit of a rant here. I'm not sure, Alistair, but
Are we talking awards? I remember playing golf with this guy, and he worked in flooring and screeding. And I said, what are you doing the weekend? He says, we've got an award ceremony. And I'm thinking, an award ceremony for flooring? How exciting is that going to be? And you're right, Graham. It's a bit like being, operative of the month at the call centre. You probably get sacked the next month because you actually didn't meet your target. It's relatively harmless. It's good fun to look back at and go, that went well, didn't it? I mean, see, Callum Davidson's won the award for the championship. Lovely guy, deserves it, but if he gets relegated at the end of the season, it won't make a blind bit of difference. I suspect he's probably got slightly better things in his trophy cabinet than that. So yeah, I whether it's screeding or Manager of the Month or whatever else, it's fine, but it doesn't mean anything.
Oh well, then that's maybe I was wrong then. Maybe I thought I was going to have a bit of a rant there.
I can have a wee rant, Michael, because if you remember when Saints a few years ago won 2 cups in one season, and Callum was not the Manager of the Year. Strangely, it went to somebody else. I can't remember who it was, whose club hadn't won anything for quite some time. And I don't know about you, but I thought that stank a bit.
Yes, me and Graham went on our high horse for about 2 shows, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Donaldson said, there's no way they could give an award to an Aberdeen manager 2 months in a row. I mean, again, Jimmy Thielens won every game and no got it. What a waste of time these awards are. Seriously, get them in the bin. No point.
There we go. Hashtag get them in the bin. So we're going to let Alistair go at this point. I know Paul was saying it's a full house tonight, but I want to get Alistair on to speak about Timo Valakari and also talk to him about last week's Celtic game. No, I wasn't at all, Alistair. I'm not like that. I'm a professional. So thanks, Alistair, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and we will speak soon.
Cheers, Alistair.
Indeed. Thanks, folks. We'll see you again.
There we go, lads. Alistair away and Mikey's away as well. So it's just Robbie and Graham left as well. Let's talk about the other game on. In fact, let's move to Saturday. Hold on. Oh no, there's one game left. Is there? Yeah. Is it? Aberdeen against
Hearts.
Hearts, yeah. Of course, yeah. Mikey, you knew I was kicking on there, didn't you? Please tell me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good. I was getting worried. But yeah, so it's Aberdeen against Hearts. I wanted to build up to that about more for about 2 seconds, Glenn, but Mikey spoiled my day in the sun. Brilliant. A kind of okay performance last night away from home, and a very difficult game on Sunday against Big Jimmy. I'm going to call him up in Aberdeen.
Yeah, I mean, I said last night it wasn't a great game. It was a terrible game of football, not a lot of quality, but all I wanted was a victory, and we've got it, so I'm really pleased with that. But the last team I want to go to after this is Aberdeen, a team that's on form. Very difficult game. I am expecting probably Liam Fox make a couple of changes, try and freshen it up a little bit. But, you know, it's a game I need to look forward to. We finally got our first win. It's a full house on Sunday, which as Paul just said as well. It should be a good atmosphere, unlike yesterday, which was mental. There was absolutely no fans, it was crazy. So, yeah, it should be an interesting game. I'm excited to see what Hearts are going to do. I'm not expecting a victory. I hate saying that, but I think our first league win might be a little while away yet. But, you know, I do expect a few changes on Sunday. Try and freshen up a lot. The one thing he's got to do is start Jan Dander. I mean, I can't understand why he's not starting him just now. Barry Mackay yesterday was brutal for 74 minutes. He shouldn't start for me. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what we're going to do, but I'm not confident against an Aberdeen side who are very, very strong, and we've not won at Pittodrie since 2016. So, yeah, it's not the place I want to go after the European game, but hopefully we can get something.
Yeah, no, as a thing, but I mean, we did say last night on the show that young Danga, I don't know why he never got the game, and Stephen Naismith fell on his own sword, Graham, because I mean, why buy a player at Scores Goal for fun and put him on the bench every week? I don't know. And guess what? He came on and scored the winning goal. Who knew?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just Dander that I think Naismith didn't play. I think there was a few players that he maybe should have started. But, I mean, that's got to be a massive confidence boost yesterday. You know, going to a game that there was no fans there was no atmosphere. Dynamo Minsk, I don't think were brilliant. I'll be honest, I thought they were quite a poor side, but we had to win. So that was a massive, massive 3 points yesterday. You know, opening the Conference League with a victory. We've got other winnable games to come. I think our next home game in the Conference League's Omonia. A game that we should be winning. So we could be sitting with 6 points after 2 games, which is a great start if we can beat Omonia. But yeah, yesterday was a massive positive. I wasn't bothered with performance, it was just getting a win. And to get it last minute and for Jan Dan to come off the bench and get his first goal, you can see how much it meant to him. He should take confidence from that. The players should take confidence from that. I heard Liam Fox after the game yesterday. I like how he comes across. He comes across very well. But I would imagine that Sunday will be his last game in charge. He'll go back to the B team. We'll have a new manager in. So it's a chance for Hearts to go and get a result on Sunday. But it's a very difficult game against a very good Aberdeen side. I think Paul said about Hearts looking tired. I don't know if I'd agree with that. It's only a few games into the season. We shouldn't be tired already. But yeah, Sunday's a difficult game at a very tough venue that we don't win. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what we're going to do here.
Now, I'm in 2 minds whether to say a joke, Robbie, about when Hearts play Ammonia. I hope the game's on and everybody's feeling well in that game. I don't know why I just said it because no one's laughing. But hopefully you're laughing, Paul, or else I'm in deep trouble. Yeah, so what are you expecting on the game on Sunday? Do you think Hearts will be tired travelling all that way home? Or do you think they'll be up for the game because of the last minute goal last night?
I mean, I think when Hearts got the equaliser against Ross County, it maybe sparked a bit in them in their kick on the season. I mean, look, we all know how good Hearts can be and the quality that they have in that team. It's a team full of great quality, so they can definitely do well. I mean, I'm just running out of words to describe how well Aberdeen have got on, Jimmy Phelan especially, because it's been literally a perfect start. They could not ask for any better, so he'll be loving it. In terms of the game, I think Hearts should be confident getting up there. Look, it's always going to be a tricky game, but you're going away to a strange European journey where, you know, there's no fans and it feels a bit like, a few years ago, obviously, when there was no fans in the stadiums at all. So I think if your Hearts, you need to look at that result, what it meant, and try and build a wee bit of confidence onto that, because this Hearts team can challenge up right up at the top of the league. It's just no worked out for Naismith, unfortunately, for them. So I think Hearts should be confident for this game, but listen, Aberdeen will as well, and that's why I think it'll be a good game of football. I think there'll be goals. I think both teams will try and play for the win, and I think it's just a matter of who can take their chances, and I think that's where the likes of Lon Shankland will come into play if it starts on a Sunday. Can he take that chance that he's not really took early in the season? But I think we spoke about awards earlier. I think Graham should get an award for the best voice note of the month with that voice note after the Hearts win. After the game, that was something special in the group. So, it's a very good game.
I had to buy a new phone, Graham, as well. Mikey, what do you think of the performance last night from Hearts, and what are you expecting on Sunday?
Look, I don't think the Hearts' performance last night was incredible. I mean, the team they were playing, I thought, were really, really poor in the game. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's a big win for them. It's a very, very positive result in the end. So yeah, they need to kick on now. But I think there's a very simple phrase within Scottish football, and it's that Hearts don't win at Pittodrie and Aberdeen don't win at Tynecastle. So I think it's probably going to follow that same narrative that it has over the last almost decade. So yeah, I don't give Hearts much hope going into this game at all. But if it was flipped and it was at Tynecastle, I reckon it'd be a very, very good game.
One thing to note, I think, is Papa Gay being out injured for a long time. I mean, that could affect Aberdeen. He's been the main man getting the goals, so I wonder how
They've
much
also
that...
got Kevin Nisbet though.
Kevin Nisbet can get you goals as well, but...
So, Mikey, Graham won't be sending any Christmas cards to Mikey this year, I think. Again,
I don't send Christmas cards.
No, I think e-cards now. Graham gets to, because I'm a bit tight. Can't even get my hair cut. That's why I'm going baldy. Graham, but it's a brilliant game to come back to. I mean, Paul Donaldson put in the chat there about he can't understand why UEFA sent Hearts all the way over there. Would there not be a kind of basically ground in the middle where the teams could meet near Scotland?
I think Minsk have played in that stadium before, so that's probably why they chose that game, because it is technically their home game. I think that's why they chose that. But yeah, I mean, the travel's not been great, because we were travelling basically straight from Azerbaijan to Aberdeen, so it's not the best travelling arrangements. But I think this is a game we have to look forward to. And I know Liam Fox said that yesterday as well in his interview after the game. I mean, like I said, we've not won there since 2016. Have to win sometime. We did that at Celtic Park last season. We eventually won, so things have got to change eventually. It might happen on Sunday. Do I think it will? Probably not. But we have to take confidence in that yesterday. It's a massive, massive boost. It shouldn't have taken us this long to get our first win of the season. But that's how quickly football can change. And football can change quickly. Look at Motherwell last season. 15 games without a win. They eventually started winning games and nearly finished top 6. That's what I've got to hope Hearts can do. We do have players in that team that can cause problems, but like I said to Alistair about St Johnstone keeping clean sheets, we've conceded 17 goals this season already. We can't stop conceding goals. I don't know why that is. And every goal we lose is really, really poor. Ronan Hale's goal last week was great, but every goal we lose is so avoidable. We can't afford to do that on Sunday, because Aberdeen will punish us even without Papa Gay. You've got a guy like Kevin Nisbet who's in really good goal scoring form, and I agree with Mikey, should win the Scotland score over Shankland. But yeah, it'll be a difficult game, but we need to defend a lot better than we have been. And if we get chances, we've got to take them. Shankland looked a lot better last night. He looked a lot more lively than he has done for weeks. And hopefully it might spark him. But I can see Hearts. I mean, to be fair to Liam Fox, he has actually played 4-2-3-1 the last 2 games, unlike Naismith, who would go to 3 at the back. I think he'll keep the 4-2-3-1. It'll be a difficult game, but it's a game that Hearts could take something from, but we have to be strong defensively.
As for Aberdeen, Robbie, a big couple of weeks coming up, big game on Sunday. But after the international break, I think they've got Rangers at Pittodrie, they've got Celtic at Parkhead, and also Yep, and also they've got them in the semi-final as well.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a big few weeks for feeling Aberdeen, but they've got to go into every game with confidence. I mean, look, Rangers at Pittodrie, Aberdeen can give them a real go in that game, and there's no doubt that if Aberdeen play to the way they can, then they can pick up points in that game. So I think if you've got to be feeling confident about how the season's went and how the season's going to go, because it is a big few weeks, but there's no doubt that they'll have the belief that they can go and get some wins, and especially try and get themselves into a cup final.
Can I just ask Mikey and Robbie? Obviously, we talked to them about the youth players and stuff. Adam Forrester's played the last 2 games for Hearts. Played last night, first European game, last week against Ross County. I thought he's done very well. Only 19, and I think he's done very well so far. What have you made of him so far?
I think he's been very good, and that's basically all else I'd say about him. I think that he's had 2 difficult games to come into, and he's performed well on both of them. So, yeah.
Nah, I'd probably agree with Mikey on that one.
Well, that was short and sweet.
There you go, short and sweet. I was going to ask you to expand on your answers, but I'm not going to bother, because that will be short and sweet as well, Graham. As well. Yeah, so it's going to be a big test for Hearts, because obviously, was it you that was saying last night, Graham, that even though Hearts were over there, but they were still in the kind of British summertime time zone.
Yeah, Liam Fox said he was trying to keep it on UK time. So again, which makes sense. But travelling to Pittodrie is not the place I want to go. I think kind of Mike is right. If this was at Tynecastle, it might be a different game, because the home team tends to win this game, which is weird. I don't know why that is. But things have got to change eventually. I mean, if we could win on Sunday, then we go into the national break with a draw and 2 wins. That'll be massive. And any manager coming in, who that'll be, I genuinely don't know. But like I said, we've got a list of about 7 or 8 names on it, and it's not going to be Scottish. There's a couple of names in mind that I think might get it, but I asked somebody that I know to do with Hearts if he's got any names in mind of who the favourite is, and he said no. So I'm intrigued to see who's on that list. But I said it previously, Hearts have got to get this appointment right. We can't afford to make another poor appointment. And I hope that the new manager that comes in is going to play a decent brand of football, play front foot, and actually get pace in that team. Because I said this last night, there is literally no pace in that team, and you saw that last night. That's what a new manager's got to do, but I think he's got a good enough squad. And again, it was asked earlier, do I think Hearts will get relegated? Obviously, my heart's bias says no, but I don't think we will. We've got a strong enough squad. It's a good squad. It just needs a little bit of confidence in it. And we're not, I never thought I'd be saying this after only 6 or 7 games, but I'm looking at St Johnstone and Kilmarnock thinking, hopefully they don't stretch a lead over us. I never thought I'd be saying that. But Hearts have got a stronger squad than half the teams in that league, which is why I still think we will still finish top 6 with that squad.
Mikey, what do you think about clubs kind of like looking outside the box in terms of bringing managers in? I'm talking about obviously Hearts looking for a new manager at the moment. St Johnstone Goose appointed Varadkar this week. Do you think it's a good marketing tool for our game in Scotland? Because as you know, Mikey, our neighbours down south and maybe different parts of the UK think Scottish football's a tin pot league.
Well, yeah, for the first part, yes, I think it's good to look outside the box. I think a lot of it is the knock-on effect of what happened with Jimmy Thielen. And to your second point, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to say, no, Scottish football is great, I think the week we've just had is not exactly the best way of dispelling that whole thing from down south. And that's the thing that was most frustrating for me this weekend. It's that although we try and defend Scottish football, the teams just aren't going out and doing it on the park. So it's very disappointing. But I mean, yeah, it's good to see managers from outside the box, because it also it doesn't have our league so enclosed. It can give us the sort of expansion out the way, and it brings more fans to the game, and it also can create more sort of partnerships, which can also benefit the league as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Robbie, I like to talk up Scottish football, but obviously last week wasn't a good marketing tool to use about Scottish football, apart from Hearts. Let's
Well, I was going to say that. I was going to say that.
Yep. But as you know, Mikey comes from the other side of the city, Graham, whereas I come from miles away. So, you know, I
Well,
can say
to be fair, I mean, for anyone watching that game, it's not exactly a great advert for Scottish football, let's be completely honest.
Hey, we still won, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. But Mikey just threw me off there. I thought I was going to ask Robbie, but no. I think I was going to ask him. Do you think it's same question to you, Robbie, that I asked Mikey about? Do you think it's good for Scottish football to be looking kind of like outside the box? I mean, I don't know what that says about our managers in Scotland, because we've got good managers in Scotland, but sometimes you feel as though that you should be looking outside the bubble of Scotland, because there's decent managers kind of like out there.
I mean, it's always good to look outside the box, but I mean, to give credit to some of our managers, you look at the likes of Robinson, who came to us after, get down south and not quite working out. But, at the time when you look at that sort of deal, it's good to see a manager like Robinson Link, who has done well up here previously. So I suppose it is good to look outside the box, but we do have some managers that have formerly been here that can do our job. So I'm sure, there's pros and cons to both, but I think for Hearts, it's good to look outside the box. And as Graham said multiple times, they need to get this one right, because if they don't, they could be in some serious danger.
Yep. So that's the game on Sunday. Hearts and Kilmarnock. Let's go back the way. Let's go forwards to tomorrow. And we always like talking about derbies on this show, don't we? Well, it's a crossover between, well, not a derby, Graham. It's friendly United between Tony Docherty and Derek McInnes. Dundee against Kilmarnock tomorrow.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Dundee. I think they've done very well. They actually should have taken something out of Aberdeen last week. They should have got at least a point out of the game. They were very good. But I think this will be an interesting game. Kilmarnock, again, have had a difficult season. I think it's 1 win in 18 for Derek McInnes now, which is not a great stat. They should have beaten Dundee United last week. Drew 3-3 from 3-1 up. Massive, massive blow. But this could be a decent game, I think, especially at Dens Park. You've got, I think Dundee have been very, very good, and I think Simon Murray's been a great signing for them. We said it when he signed, he's a very good signing for them. There is no doubt they miss Luke McKeown, but any team would miss a guy like that. This could be an interesting game tomorrow. Kilmarnock, again, defensively, not particularly great. The one thing that I was surprised with last week was that David Watson started on the bench. He then comes on and scores 2 fantastic goals. He should be in the Scotland squad, personally, for me. But I think this is a game that Dundee will be looking at and thinking, at home at Dens Park, with the players that Dundee have got with Simon Murray up front, they can cause Kilmarnock a lot of problems tomorrow. I actually can see Dundee winning this. I think there'll be goals in this one. I think Dundee will win this, though.
Robbie?
Yeah, I mean, not to go over too much of what Graham said already, but I think if you're Dundee, you've got to be confident for this one. Kilmarnock, they've done a really weird run of form where they've put in some decent performances, but they're not getting the wins on the board. So it's been a really, I think if you asked a Kilmarnock fan, they'd probably use the word frustrating for their season so far. It's been a really frustrating season for them. So they want to, try and get the points here, but I can only really see Dundee, I think, getting the points, and credit to them, because I actually think it's been a very good start to the season for them, and if they keep going the way they're going, they'll probably be up challenging for the top 6 again.
Mikey, both managers were talking yesterday. In fact, Derek McInnes held his press conference on Wednesday for the game on Saturday. Tony Docherty says, again, Mikey, you can write my script for me, because he says, yes, it's going to be a real tough game. They're a good side. They've got a brilliant manager. I'm expecting a difficult opponent to come up here. Derek McInnes, on the other hand, said, we are looking forward to the game. It'll be good to end with a win before the international break. What do you think of this game, Mikey?
I think this game is the type of game that has a 2-2 draw written all over it. I just see it happen so many times each season. Every time that Dundee play Killie, it seems to be a 2-2 draw. and with the way the two teams are playing at the moment, it would very much make sense. Dundee have been good so far. They've been all right. I think that there's been games where they've been a bit disappointing. There's games where they probably should have got more out of it. A prime example was Aberdeen. And for Kelly, they just can't convert. There's been so many games where they've led or they've had a real opportunity to get something out of the game and they've only came out with 1 point or they've ended up losing the game. So I can see this being the exact type of game where Kelly take an early sort of 2-goal lead and then Dundee end up bringing it back to 2-2. So if you want a prediction for that one, that's what I can say. That's what I think.
There you go. Robbie, are you brave to put your neck on the line at 6:20 on a Friday night?
I think Dundee will edge this one, to be honest. I'm going to go, if you want my prediction, I'm going to go Dundee 2, Kelly 1.
Yeah. Kamal's been a bit kind of up and down this season, and I think like they were disappointed in Europe in the qualifying rounds, Robbie.
Yeah, I think so. They'll probably look back at that later in the season. I think Kilmarnock's form will turn around. I think they will start picking up wins eventually. But at the end of the season, they'll look back at these European games and go, we had a real chance here to qualify. I don't think any of the teams that played over 2 legs looked particularly great. So if, Kilmarnock started the season off better, they could be looking at another sort of type of season in retrospect. But looking at the now, McInnes knows he needs to try and turn us around and try and get the wins on the board because it is so crucial getting into this stage now where, we're starting to drift into the sort of midpoint of the season where, managers will start getting sacked. I mean, they have already. Just look at Hart, for example, bad form and that's Naismith gone. So McInnes knows he needs to turn this around and I'm sure they will at some point.
Can I just quickly come in on something just on the whole European football? I don't really think many people expected them to be Copenhagen, but there was games in Europe where they were very disappointing. I mean, the first leg against, Tromsø, where they ended up drawing, I think that was a very, very disappointing one. But if you're actually looking at it, I don't think anyone really should have expected them to beat Copenhagen because Copenhagen are a bit further ahead in terms of, obviously budgets get brought into it a lot, but just the size of club and obviously the players they have, I think they were quite far above Kelly when they played them.
Graham, let's get Dundee and come out. Your thoughts going into the game?
Yeah, I do fancy Dundee. Like I said, I thought they were disappointed not to get a point last week against Aberdeen. Aberdeen's a far better side than Kelly. I think Simon Murray could cause a lot of problems for Kilmarnock defence tomorrow. So I can see Dundee winning this. I'm gonna say it's about a high scoring game. I'm gonna go 3-2 Dundee.
I don't know about you guys, right? But I don't really like this kind of window because it just feels as though last week we were talking about Scotland and this week we're going to be talking about Scotland and you've got to feel sorry for the manager because they prepare for 4 or 5 games and then we're back to Scotland. I mean, Derek McInnes said yesterday that we'll be looking forward to the game, but it'll be good to get a win before the international break. Robin, that I just feel as though it's kind of like stop-start, and I think after this window, is that the last window until it was another one? And no, that's not another one this year, is it?
I don't think so. I don't think we've got another one for quite a wee while now. But just on McInnes' point, I mean, it does feel very stop-start, as you said there, Michael. But for McInnes, they will want to get the win here because, for managers, I don't think there's anything worse when you're a club manager and you're going through bad form than an international break because it really stops your season a lot and it can really affect teams. But luckily for a lot of the Premiership managers, they do have basically their full team to still be working with bits here and there. So for some managers, it will still be good. But for McInnes, he'll want to try and get that win before the international break.
I've just checked and there's 2 more Scotland games in November after these ones.
I will say though, see if Scotland were at the top of their game, I don't think anyone would be complaining. That's the one thing I will come in with.
Yeah, fair point, Mikey. Yeah. So on that point, we'll move on to another game tomorrow, and it's involving Mikey's team. It is Hibs against Motherwell, and Motherwell's coming to Easter Road going on a bit of form at the moment, Mikey.
Yeah, they're doing well, and it sounds weird, but I'd be quite surprised if we actually win this game. This is another one that I think has a 2-2 draw written all over it. But yeah, I'd be very impressed if we end up winning the game tomorrow. I think that they're. I mean, if you go man for man, Hibs are probably a better side, but I just think the Motherwell have the form on their side, and obviously the work that Stuart Kettlewell's doing with them at the moment is very impressive. So yeah, I'd absolutely be very happy with a win tomorrow, because I think it's the smart money would probably be on a draw, being completely honest. And yeah, I'm very impressed with the way Motherwell are playing.
Mike, I know I've spoken to this before during the week, but surely you've got to take confidence from that game at Ibrox last week, because you should have taken at least a point from that game.
Yeah, I was very proud of the performance, but the only disappointing thing is that it doesn't really matter, because regardless if we ended up losing 3-0 or we ended up losing 1-0, the only thing that changes is the goal difference. So it's not like you gain any points out of it for playing well. But yeah, there is a bit of confidence there, because the team's been on sort of a steady increase over the recent weeks. There's kind of ever since the Celtic game, the 3-1, I think we've been quite decent. So yeah, not too bad, and I think that Motherwell's a good test for us because they're playing quite well. They're a team that's on form, and it's historically the type of game that we'd end up either drawing or losing when we're expected to beat them, but they're doing quite well. So yeah, I'd be very, very happy if we win the game tomorrow, obviously.
Robbie, what's your thoughts on this game? It should be a good game. I mean, Hibs, as I say, make it basically say you get no points for playing well, and that's right. But I mean, they should be a bit kind of disappointing in a way that they never took the chances last week. Robbie.
Yeah, I mean, they can be positive for the performances that they put in, and I think one of the big things that I took for the game Rangers versus Hibs was how well the Hibs midfield done throughout the whole game. They really closed down that Rangers midfield and stopped them doing anything. So I think if you're looking at how the game's maybe going to go, the key man for Motherwell is, of course, Lennon Miller. He's seemed to be doing everything for them right now. So if Hibs can do the same again and be so comfortable and controlling in the midfield, then they've got a real chance to go and win this game, because I'm not trying to say Motherwell are a one-man team or anything like that, but a lot of their creative ability does come through Lennon Miller. So if Hibs can try and close him down, then it's a real chance for them to go and win the game. And I think they will take positives for that game at Ibrox, although, as Mike has already said, they don't get the result. But they played well at stages, so I think if your Hibs going forward, then you should be confident for this game. But saying that, Motherwell are a team where, they beat us the last time, and whether that was due to the referee or not, I'll not get into that. But they still picked up the wins. They've started the season well, and they'll be looking to go Easter Road and try and get the points. So it'll be a really interesting game.
Graham, David Gray was talking today. He says, looking forward to the game. We were okay we got beat last week, but we played well, and we must take heart from that. Motherwell is in a good run of form. They're well coached, and you will see that. Meanwhile, Stuart Kettlewell was talking about the game. He says we are doing well, and there are more to come when you go to Hibs. It'll be a tough test, and they will take heart from the performance last week from Ibrox.
Yeah, I think they have to. They were very good last week. We spoke about it on the show last Sunday. I thought Hibs should have got at least a point at the game. They played very well, created numerous chances. Obviously, the penalty that Kucherevich, I don't think he'll be taking a penalty again after that. But they did show a lot of fighting spirit last week. They were very, very good defensively. As Robbie's mentioned, midfield they looked really good. I do think missing Martin Boyle was a massive blow because the pace that he's got. But I think Hibs will be looking at this game going Easter Road. We've got a real chance here going to the national break on the back of a victory. It'll be a tough game because Motherwell have done very well. Very impressed with them so far this season. I think last week, I think they probably did just about deserve to win, but we all know that sender-off was never a sender-off. Although, ironically, I've noticed that the VAR review board has said there was no mistakes last week. Shock horror, because there actually was. But yeah, I mean, I think Motherwell have done very well, and Lennon Miller's been in sensational form. Hibs need to keep him quiet And again, like David Watson, Lennon Miller should be in that Scotland squad. Give us something a bit different, but he's not. But I honestly think this is a really good game tomorrow. Again, a bit like Dundee Kilmarnock, this could be a really good game tomorrow. But I'm obviously, I'm not biased on this show. I actually do fancy Hibs. I think they've got a bit of form. I think fair play to David Gray. I thought it was a cheap appointment, but I actually think he's done all right recently. He's getting results. He's got a bit of something about him. I think he's getting the best out of that team. They look a bit better defensively. I think Ekpiteta looks a lot stronger now. So yeah, I actually think Hibs could get something out of this game. I honestly think they could win this tomorrow.
Mikey, do you think David Gray is actually turning the ship very slowly?
I wouldn't say very slowly. It's been quite a quick turnaround in the sort of in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, it's been, as you said, it's been quite disrupted. And I mean, if you kind of take it in, the performances have really started improving since maybe the start of September. So it's been really about a month. I wouldn't say that's really a slow turnaround. I think that it's been, when he was appointed, I think we could have done a lot better, in my opinion. I think that there was better options out there, but it was maybe not the safe option, but it was the option that took the least sort of risk into occasion because he's been there before. He's done work with Hibs already. So yeah, it was a bit disappointing when he first came in for me because I thought there was better options out there. But yeah, he's done a decent job, and I think that his recruitment for one has been very, very good. I think that's the one major positive that I've seen of him so far. The players he's brought in have been, on the whole, very, very good so far. And yeah, it's something that Hibs fans can really get behind because under Nick Montgomery, every player he brought in brought in a few really good ones. Obviously, a few of them really didn't work. So yeah, it was one of those where there wasn't really much to get excited about under him because nothing was really changing. But there seems to be a bit of a sort of switch in the morale, and that's the first time I've really sort of seen that since the end of the 22-23 season, which is very positive, of course.
Mike, I know we spoke about this before, but Junior Hoylett, you spoke about signings. I think Junior Hoylett's had a very good start to his career so far. I
agree, and I think he was brilliant at Aberdeen last season. I think we've seen a lot of the comments of Aberdeen fans saying, he was no good and all that, but I think he was actually very good for them. I mean, look at the way he single-handedly turned the semi-final against Celtic around. He was absolutely brilliant in that game, and I think that's something that we've really got that's a positive for us. We've got different options in every position almost. We've got a lot of flexibility within the team, and that's what you need with a team like Hibs, because with us being probably the fifth biggest team in Scotland, we shouldn't be fighting down in the bottom half every season. We should be trying to fight up towards that top four, top three. And I mean, this season, there's a real wide open door for that fourth place because obviously Hearts are struggling. Obviously the teams around in that sort of fourth place. Motherwell have done well, but there's obviously that possibility they can drop off. So there's a real wide open door there for Hibs to capitalise on. And if we can finish above Hearts, that's the only thing that's one thing that I'd be very happy about this season. So that's my main aim.
Would you start Dwight Gale tomorrow?
No, I think he'd be good off the bench. So I think that if you start Dwight Gale, you're almost forced into making the change because I don't think he'd see out 90 minutes at this stage. He hasn't played for a while, and I think that the likes of Kukarevic, it leaves the sort of door open with a sense if he's playing well, then he plays the 90 minutes. If he's not, then he comes off. With Dwight Gale, I think you're kind of hamstrung into bringing him off after maybe 60, 65 minutes. So I think that we need to keep our options open, and he can really do something off the bench, in my opinion.
Speak to us about Kevin Nisbet, Mikey, because obviously, I mean, you saw him now playing for Hibs, but how excited where you and the fellow Hibs fans can see Hibs has got him on the books?
What do you mean, like money wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good because I think that it's obviously been brought up multiple times, but finance is really rule supreme in Scottish football. So the more money we have, the more likely we are to compete. I think that the way that the team's playing at the moment is very decent, and I think when it gets to January, as long as we have that bit of money there to kind of bring in new talent and to kind of, I guess, freshen up the squad in areas that are needing improved, then that's obviously a massive positive from my perspective.
Yeah, no, and another big name to the game, but and stuff. So, well, So that's the game tomorrow, Hibs and Motherwell. Mikey, are you going to the game? Let me see. Oh no, you will be
Yes,
going to Robinson's away from home tomorrow. That's
I
okay.
would
A
have been
good
going
one
anyway. I
to
would have been
check
going
it.
to the Hibs game anyway.
Graham, I wonder if we can do a new feature on the show about 6:45. What game will Mikey go to this weekend? And I think if we do the feature, I think if you can do the wee song on that, or what game is Mikey going to this weekend? Anyway, never mind. I've just woke up, by the way. The last game, sorry, Robbie, last but not least, it's Friends of United at St Mirren as Jim Goodwin is going back to St Mirren tomorrow. And Robbie will be going to this game because Morton's not at home. I know they're at home tomorrow. I'm kicking Robbie on it. Fine, it's Friday night. It's been a busy week. But what do you think of the game tomorrow? Dundee United's in a good run of form at the moment, but so St Mirren at home.
Yeah, I mean, at home I always back us to beat anyone, to be honest. Our home form is remarkable. I think it's something like we've picked up 88% of points at home and only about 22 away. That is a crazy start for us. It's always going to be a tough game. Like Dundee United are playing well. I don't like us playing a Jim Goodwin team. It just never seems to go right. I think the big thing about the game is how well Dundee United do down the wings, and obviously with us now missing Rooney, I think they'll exploit that. To be honest, I don't think Elvis is the best. If I'm being perfectly honest, I think he's a good enough replacement for now, but definitely long term we should be looking to get someone else in. I just think we need to play our game because away at Motherwell we just weren't at our best. We didn't take control of the game, and I think a lot of that's down to Mark O'Hara. He's been off it the last few weeks. I feel, he loves to step up. I feel like it's actually been Killian Phillips in the midfield that's been stepping up for us recently. I thought he had a very, very good performance. So we need to have a midfield at our best because that's where we play best. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game. I know Marcus Fraser got a lot of stick. I actually think he's been quite consistent this season. I think he's always given his best. Unfortunately, a lot of people that sit around me and a lot of people online don't agree. It's going to be an interesting game. It'll be interesting to see the reception of Jim Goodwin gets back being at Paisley. I know when we went to Aberdeen when he was boss there, he got a few boos, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. It should be a very interesting game.
Robbie, can I ask you about Kevin Van Veen? I mean, he's not starting a lot of games. Now, we all know what it was like at Motherwell. He was a natural finisher. I thought it was a good signing for St Mirren. When he has played, have you seen the form that he had at Motherwell, or are you just not quite seen that yet?
There's glimpses in there. I think you need to look back a couple of weeks ago to the game against Kilmarnock when he came on. You know, he had that shot, he was so close to get in, and I don't remember the last time St Mirren had a striker that can take the ball, run with it a bit, and then try and hit a shot. It's just very uncommon that happens. So, you definitely see glimpses of it in there, and if any manager's going to get it out of him, I trust it to be Robinson. So, it's very positive to have him in the door because, again, I'd rather have him than not have him. So, it's another option that's a good one.
As for Dundee United, Graham, as well, I didn't realise that they've not been at home since the last international break. That's 4 games on the road tomorrow, including tomorrow's game. They've been on the road, but they've been doing well so far under Jim Goodwin.
They have been, and I think I did say at the start of the season they wouldn't get relegated, and I'm still going to stick with that. I think they've done very well. There's still a lot of United fans not convinced by Jim Goodwin, and obviously I get it with the whole Aberdeen Darvel disaster and stuff, but he's done very well. They do look a very good side. You know, to fight back from 3-1 down last week to get a 3-3 draw is a fantastic result away from home. I think, again, they'll fancy it in Paisley. It'll be a very difficult game. I do think St Mirren will probably be a bit too strong. But again, another player that I think has been very good so far this season is Ross Graham. I think he's been fantastic for United this season. Obviously scored the winning penalty, the equalising penalty last week, pressure penalty. But I think he's played very, very well. I think United have signed very well in the window as well. Recruitment's been very good. The likes of Trapanovsky, Babunski, I think they look very, very good. This, again, could be a very good game. But I think St Mirren at home, like Robbie said, are a very, very strong side. They've got a lot of good players in there. I think Olisanyos looked really good this season. And again, Alec Gogic has been, again, really, really good for St Mirren. But this is a tough game for St Mirren tomorrow. United will make it difficult, and they do score goals. So, yeah, it's a tough game, but United have been very impressive. Sitting comfortably fifth just now. They've been very, very good. And they'll fancy it tomorrow.
Mikey, do you think that football fans, well, we know football fans are very fickle at times as well, but in terms of what Graham was saying about Goodwin up at Aberdeen and Darvel, yes, he failed, but that was in the past. He's doing a brilliant job at Dundee United. He got him up last season back into the big time. I love going up to Dundee. It's a good day and sometimes for me a good night out as well. But we won't go into that now. I'll tell you about that later, Graham. I know you're interested in my nights out and all that. But do you think it's a bit unfair for Dundee United not to basically give Goodwin the credit that he deserves?
Yes and no, because I think a lot of it does come down to the Darvel performance, along with the Hibs and Hearts games at Aberdeen. I think that has naturally, that tarnishes your reputation, regardless of how good of a manager you are. That's always a stain on your CV, and as much as you can forget and you can move on and you can do a good job, unfortunately, those are historical results that will be remembered for years and years to come. So, of course, there's going to be that sort of hesitation, but I think a lot of it comes down to last season. Dundee United last season were actually pretty poor, all things considered. In the Championship, they had by far and away the biggest budget, by far and away the best squad, and they almost limped over the line to the title. So I don't think it's fully down to the Darvel game. I think there was a lot of hesitation from last season. Now, yes, he's done a very good job so far, but he needs to keep it up. But yeah, for the whole thing where there's the whole apprehension from the Dundee United support, I think that it's basically come down to last season and the fact that it was not a failure, but it was a bit disappointing from them.
Robbie, I know that you obviously weren't. I know that you weren't on last week, Robbie. Me and Stephen spoke about this last week, and I know you were very, very angry about this. But that sending off of Scott Tanzer last week was one of the worst decisions like I've seen this season. Me and Stephen spoke about this last week. He wins the ball, but then where's he meant to put his foot? I genuinely don't know how that's not been overturned. And I said earlier on, the fact that the VAR have said that there was no mistakes last week, generally, we've all said that in the group chat, that is one of the worst decisions I have seen this season. That is never, ever a second yellow card.
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous. Thankfully, I've calmed down a wee bit now. But no, look, Tanzer, he'll be a big miss. He was nearly player of the season last season if it wasn't for Gogic being so good. He brings a lot to the team. But I think Jayden Brown will step in and do well. But I mean, just to touch on Jim Goodwin quickly, I mean, I think it goes even before the Darvel result, to be honest. I mean, like, obviously, Jim Goodwin was here as well when he was here. I think the one thing Dundee United fans will say is he's a very stagnant manager. It doesn't change. When things aren't going well, he'll stick to what he knows, and that was the problem with us. I mean, look, Goodwin got us. I think people don't give him enough credit. Goodwin got us 2 semi-finals and a Hamilton free kick away for top 6. It done okay for what we had at the time. So I think it was just a case of maybe took the Aberdeen job a bit too early, but Dundee United fans will always have that over their head that, it won't change if things start going south. And, I feel like they will drop off at some point. So it's just about how they deal with that. But to give Goodwin credit, it's been a terrific start of the season. It was a good last season as well. So all credit must go to him.
Good evening to Liverpool. He's watching on YouTube. Thanks for commenting and enjoy your weekend of football. Jim Goodwin was talking today to the media. He said, Robbie, that you know what you're going to get with Mirren. They're a physical team, and you know they have to do the basics right to get we know we've got to do the basics right to win the game. And then he goes on to say, I'm so looking forward to it. I love going back to St Mirren. But I mean, yeah, it's very hard to believe, Robbie, that I know that we've spoke about this on the show millions of times, and we'll speak about it a million times more, that when a ex-manager and ex-player comes back to the club, you've got to kind of, well, not tomorrow at 3 o'clock, but you've got to kind of like welcome him back, because he did a fine job for St Mirren, and he was I think he was one of St Mirren's best players when they played as well. Because I remember him coming up against the big two in the league, and he put it about a wee bit. He's a kind of decent player as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jim Goodwin will no doubt get boozed tomorrow. It just will. That's the way it works, unfortunately for him.
Will you be booing Robbie?
No, personally, I'm not
yeah,
booing him.
no. I'm afraid, yeah.
I sit far too close to Jim Goodwin for that. But no, I think what he done for us was amazing as a manager and a player. Captaining us to the 2030 League Cup final. Sorry, Graham. I don't want to bring that up too much, but
I was at that game. Still haunts me to this day.
But Goodwin was terrific as a player, and he was good as a manager as well. So he'll have my respect coming back to Paisley, but there's no doubt he'll get booze.
Yeah, no, Robbie will be the only person in St Mirren Park saying, yes, everybody will be booing, and Robbie will say, good to see you back, big man, as well. What do you make of St Mirren this season? Because I know you've not been on for a few weeks on the Friday show, but what do you make of them this season?
It's been not to use the same word too much, but it's been a very stop-start season for us. I actually thought when we were getting a bit of criticism earlier in the season, it was a bit harsh from Robinson, considering the teams that we'd played at that time. But now we've settled in, and there has been a few disappointing results. If they went the other way, we'd be looking so much more positive. But we still need to look positive. This run of fixtures coming up is crucial in our season. We've got Dundee United, then we play, not to look too far ahead, but we play Hearts and Rangers away. That's 2 tough games. But then the 2 big games of our season is St Johnstone and Ross County back-to-back at home. Now, if we want to be up there competing for the top 6 again, that is 2 absolutely must-win games. So this sort of time in our season is going to define where we'll probably be throughout the season. But it's been a very good start of the season. There's a lot of positives. Obviously, Olasanya being the main one. He is on fire right now, and nobody can seem to stop him. I think if you're Dundee United, some of the defenders in there are quite slow. So Olasanya will be loving the prospect of running at this Dundee United defence. Hopefully, he can get himself another goal or 2. But I feel like if you asked a lot of St Mirren fans, they'd be a bit disappointed with the way the season's went. But I actually think we've been doing quite well so far.
Robbie, you mentioned Killian Phillips. What's he brought to St Mirren?
Yeah, Phillips has been. I mean, you can tell Phillips has came down from the Premier League academy because he is so controlling in that midfield. He brings a lot of passion. I mean, there was a time against Kilmarnock where he won a slide tackle, and I don't even know what happened to him. He went off his nut, and he just started screaming to the whole fan. So that was good to see. That's instantly winning the fans over. But in terms of his game, I mean, he's not scared to go in for the challenge. I think you've seen that away at Motherwell, went in for a few. He picks up the ball. He loves to be creative, and it's something that we've actually not had in the midfield in a while. O'Hara brings that leadership and demand on the park. Boyd Munt sort of gives you the deep line playmaker. He likes to make things happen, but we've not got that guy like Killian Phillips that just sort of runs at the teams and no scared to take anyone on. So it's been really, really refreshing to see, and it's good to have him because, again, you can tell he comes from a Premier League academy. Just we're watching him. He's so smart.
Okay, that's the Premiership games. Let's look at the Championship games. No flagging night football. By the way, I've got to apologise right and hold my hands up here and say, Graham, that me apologising. Wow, first time I did say there wasn't any flagging night football, and then I was watching the telly, and then I found out that there was a round 1 of the Scottish Cup on. So there was flagging night football, but not flagging night as we know it last week as well. I'm just to put that on the record because I like to apologise when I make mistakes. Right. Okay, let's move into the Championship. There's a few games tomorrow. It is Airdrie against Dunfermline, Falkirk against Ayr United, Morton against Grey Forest, Parket Thistle against Livingston, and Queen's Park take on Hamilton Accies tomorrow. Mikey, what's your top game there?
I think there's actually a few very good ones now. Obviously, Falkirk versus Ayr is the one where I think most people will be saying will be the main one, because it's obviously the teams right at the top. But I think Partick Thistle Livingston will be probably the best game, because I think they'll be the two teams that are right up the top of the table at the end of the season, maybe with Falkirk, because I can't see Ayr United sort of sustaining that form that they're on for the whole season. So I'm going to go with Partick Thistle Livingston as a game, but there's loads of good ones in there. I think all of them have a good unique element to them, which I like.
Mike, I know that you've obviously watched Livingston a few times this season, more than I have. You've been impressed with them so far?
In the first half, no. In the second half, yes. They usually are very, very slow at the traps. They usually have quite a poor first half. And I mean, almost every time that I've went, it's ended 2-0 or 3-0. So usually it's a very boring first half, and then a second half full of some entertainment and goals, which is what you always want to see.
I hope Livingston comes up this season, Mikey, because I'm missing the macaroni pies. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, Rory, what's your pick tomorrow on the championship games?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good games in here. I like to look at Airdrie versus Dunfermline as well. Queen's Park Hamilton. I feel like a lot of the games so early on the season have a lot of meaning to them, so it's going to be really interesting. But I think for my pick, I'd probably go Airdrie versus Dunfermline.
Graham?
I've got to go to the top of the table. Falkirk, yeah. I mean, that could be a cracking game of football. Yeah. It genuinely could be a really good game of football. You know, Falkirk have eventually lost, but Ayr United have been fantastic so far under Scott Brown. I'm actually not surprised he's not left to go to St Johnstone. I think Ayr United is a really good project. I think he will have a chance of bringing them up. But honestly, that could be a cracking game tomorrow. I want to ask the guys as well. I mean, we spoke kind of last season about Airdrie and the fact they played really good football under Rhys McCabe. Are you guys surprised how far they've fallen just now? Because they are sitting bottom of the league. They're only on 4 points. Are you guys surprised at how far they've fallen?
Yes, but I watched them at the weekend and they were very, very good. So it's a bit of a weird one. But I think the Airdrie fans are wanting Rhys McCabe out is quite a ridiculous thing to say, because I think he's done so much work for them. I actually met Rhys McCabe after the game on Saturday and had a wee chat with him, and he's a very, very nice guy. And yeah, I think that he's done an unbelievable job. And I mean, I think it's just the competitiveness of the championship this year is so, like, it's so obviously tight together that I think that it's very easy for a team to fall down the table. But yeah, it's been a very disappointing one for Airdrie so far, but I wouldn't be surprised if they turn it around quite quickly.
I'm going to ask the guys here as well. Right? I'm going to start with Robbie here. Robbie, I know it's early in the season, but what's your top 4 prediction for the championship?
Top 4, I'd probably put Livingston. I feel like Livingston will be in the top 4. I don't know. I mean, when Livingston went down, I sort of thought they'd fall off a wee bit, but it doesn't look like it's going that way. It looks like Livingston will probably be fighting to try and come back up, so I'll put them in. I'll put Falkirk and Ayr in as well. I don't see them dropping too much off. And I don't know. I'll go Queen's Park to be in the top 4 as well. I think they'll be in the top 4. So I feel like if I had to predict a league winner, I think I'd go Livingston to win the league and come right back up.
Mikey, same question. You mate, top 4?
I think that Falkirk will win the league. I think that Livingston will finish 2nd. I think Partick Thistle will finish 3rd, and Ayr will just about get 4th.
And who's going down?
It's a tough one. I'll go between Queen's Park and Hamilton, but I'll go with just about Queen's Park.
Who did you say, Robbie?
My heart says Morton, but if I go on actual prediction, I think it might be Dunfermline, to be honest. I think they might go in.
Yeah, Dunfermline have not looked great. They were excellent against Raith Rovers in that Friday night game, but they've not looked fantastic so far.
Actually, I would change my relegated team to Dunfermline because I completely forgot about them. But yeah, from what I've seen so far, they're the worst team that I've seen in the championship.
So there you go, and don't don't go to the bookies with Mikey because they might change it about 5 times, and then when the horse comes in that he doesn't pick, he says, "Oh, I forgot to. I won't take him to win the winner."
Well, I did only change it once.
I'll be honest, I'm really disappointed that Falkirk Air's not on telly tonight, because that generally could be a cracking Friday night game of football.
That would have been a brilliant game to watch. I don't know why it's on the telly, but anyway, so that's the championship games. Let's quickly look at the women's games on Sunday. There was a big game last night between Celtic and Rangers. The game finished 2 each, and Celtic were 2-0 down and came back to get a point. Right. So the women's games this weekend, guys. On Sunday, it's Aberdeen against Glasgow City, Hibs against Montrose, Rangers against Motherwell, Dundee United against Spartans, and Packet Thistle against Graham's beloved Hearts. And all the games are funny kickoff times, actually. Aberdeen, Glasgow City, 1 o'clock, Hibs, Montrose, 1 o'clock, Rangers and Motherwell is at 2 o'clock. Dundee United Spartans 4 and Packet Thistle and Hearts 4. I believe that's because it's on the TV, that game. I'm just maybe guessing. And we'll cover the games on at the weekend. But yeah, it's a good weekend to get out to a game, Mikey. But it's the last weekend before the Google Scotland play in a few weeks.
Yeah, but I like watching Scotland play because I am a lot more positive when it comes to the national team. Because, to be honest, even if we lose these games in the Nations League, I'm not hugely bothered. So, yeah, I'll miss the competitive football, but when it goes to the international games, I always do like watching Scotland, regardless of whether we're doing well or not.
I never got a chance to answer this earlier on because Michael never came to me. But that Scotland squad, I know that Robbie and Mikey touched on it. It's maybe not the best Scotland squad, but I think we have to talk about the players that have been called up. Liam Lindsay, Nicky Devlin, and Andy Irvine. I know that Mikey, I think, maybe said this in the group chat. Andy Irvine said about half an hour for West Ham. He has played against Liverpool and he has played against Manchester City. But listen, obviously I'm a massive Hearts fan. Everyone knows that by now. If you don't, will if you've been living. Andy Irvine was at Hearts. I liked him at Hearts. I think he was a good player. But I don't understand how Andy Irvine's been called into the squad when you've got guys like Lennon Miller and David Watson who have been doing very well and are not in it. I genuinely don't get that.
English bias, basically. And the unfortunate thing is, if Andy Irvine was playing up in Scotland, he'd be one of the best players in the league. So, yeah, it's a bit of a disappointing one because he hasn't played much football, but he's obviously shown in the Austrian League, and the fact he's gone to a team like West Ham, he's obviously a very, very good player.
What about the call-up for Nicky Devlin?
I agree with it. I think he's been brilliant.
I would agree.
Robbie?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, that's why I like having Mikey on the show, Grim. He gets straight to the point. English bias, there you go. Well done, Mikey.
But
again,
match. I kind of touched on this earlier, though. I know that we've said before that Steve Clarke is very loyal, and I do get that. And I did say earlier, in my defence that Shankland should win the Scotland squad. But when you've got guys like David Watson and Lennon Miller on form, surely this is the time to put them in there. You know, they would probably offer something more than other players would do. Is it just the fact that our midfield is probably our strongest area? Is that why they're not in it? Is that the reason why they're not in it? Because generally, I think they should be in it.
I think it's come back to Mikey's point about English bias, but also look at, say, Celtic and Rangers as other teams out there that can produce players like Lennon Miller. He's scoring a goal for fun at the moment, you know. And I mean, how many times, Graham, did we harp on about Rodling Shankland being in the squad? And about 55 times later, Skibby Crap pulled him up in the squad. And then when they picks him, he doesn't get a game.
Yeah, I mean, he's if you're picking players on form, he's not on form. Kevin Nisbet is. And I think Nisbet should be in there. Can
I just make one sort of more point on this? And it's the fact that obviously it seems very weird that Andy Irving's in the squad because he hasn't played much football. But I don't know if you would agree with me on this one. If Lennon Miller or David Watson was playing for West Ham, I don't think they would have got a single minute on the park this season yet. So I think it does show that, although it is English bias, I think it's correct that it's English bias, because as much as I hate to say it, English football is a much higher standard than Scottish football. So, but from my perspective, I mean, if the likes of Andy Irving, I obviously just brought the point up a minute ago, but if Andy Irving was playing for a team up in Scotland, he'd be, as I said, he'd be one of the best players in the league. But just because he hasn't played as much for a team that's would be pretty comfortably top of the Scottish League in West Ham, it doesn't look as good. But I think if he played for a team like Celtic or Rangers, he'd be in that team almost every week.
Yeah, no, fair point. If you want to comment on that, you can do so by coming back on Sunday, because we're back on Sunday between 3 and 5. Thanks to Mikey as ever. Thanks to Robbie. Enjoy the game and don't boo Jim Goodwin too much now. I'll be watching on the TV. And me and Graham, and I think Stephen's joining on Sunday as well. So I'll be good to see him. So enjoy your football, and we will see you here live at 3 o'clock on Sunday.